Aaron Rodgers spoke yesterday, and he said that this training camp that's happening right now is perhaps the hardest he's had in the last decade. Hmm, interesting. We discuss and react. Let's go.
I'm gonna lose my gosh darn bananas. Boy Green Daily starts now. Zoinks!
I made it clear that my intention was to play, and my intention was to play for the New York Jets.
You're fucking depressing!
What's going on, beautiful people? My name is Paul Liston Jr., a.k.a. Boy Green. I'm the New York Jets digital reporter for Heavy.com. Welcome to Boy Green Daily, a daily New York Jets video show, also available wherever you get your friggin' podcast, baby. And thank you for joining us here on a Wednesday edition. Today is joint practice between the New York Jets and the New York Giants. Of course, this is the final week of training camp. This is the final joint practice, of course, for the New York Jets. They have their preseason game on Saturday night for the Snoopy Bowl. They don't call it that anymore, but I'll still call it that. The Snoopy Bowl coming up on Saturday between the Jets and the Giants. And as Snowball says immediately, we are gathered here today for a Jet sermon of epic proportions and plenty to get into. But before we get started, let's give a shout out to Jared B. And hopefully he's recovering well from his medical procedure. So I want to give a shout out right off the top of the show to Jared B., our moderator of the chat, also runs our Discord. So we're thinking about you, Jared B. So hopefully you can continue to return to your health with everything you got going on. I want to put all your business out there in the world, but we're thinking of you, buddy. All right, without further ado, let's go to my every Wednesday guest. He's one of the friggin' best in the business, and we love it when he graces us with his presence. You can read his stuff, you can listen to him, you can watch him everywhere. This is Nick Ferry of the Pro Football Network and Athlon Sports. Good morning, Nick.
How's everything going, Paul? Great to be back on.
Okay, so this is perhaps the most important question I've ever asked you in the show's history. Okay, so I'm gonna. It's a prop. Okay, so we're gonna do some show and tell here. Okay?
Sounds good. Sounds
this
good.
Is brand new. Okay. Okay. So this right here. Okay. So yeah, this is a heavy piece of merch right here. Okay, and it's the NBA. People will be like, "What the hell is this thing?" So I have interns at my radio station. And I'm going to give a shout out to an intern who just had his last day yesterday. He's going back to college. Okay. And before he left, he said, "Paul, I have a gift." I said, "Oh, well, wonderful. You don't have to do that, but okay, I love gifts, so sure. Why not?" Okay. This gift right here is champagne. Okay. And he put a note on it. It says it's hard to read, but to Paul Boy Green Eston, drink only in victory, with exclamation points. And then on the end, it says his name on the bottom. Shout out intern Rob, who got me this wonderful gift. So apparently this is the official champagne of the NBA. I didn't even know that was a thing, but wonderful. God bless the NBA for this. But he said, when the Jets win the Super Bowl, you can crack this baby open. When in God's green earth am I cracking it? Because I feel like it's not going to be on ice for long, baby. What say you, Nick Ferrier?
Listen, I'm not going to jinx anything. I'm never one to jinx anything. If you guys know me from my overall fandoms, I am a very, very don't test the football gods kind of person. It could happen this year. It could happen next year. This team is as stacked as it's ever been in franchise history. And I look at the teams around them in the AFC specifically.
Sure.
And I look at maybe one or two teams that may have more talent than them, but it's very, very close. Very, very close. So I certainly think they're as good a team as any to come out of the AFC. And as we've seen over the last few years, what the best the AFC has to offer has been more than capable of handling the top teams in the NFC.
Well, that would be wonderful. So I appreciate you not jinxing it. That's okay. And shout out to my intern. That's cool. There is a literal bottle of champagne in there. That is heavy as hell. I just got to make sure I put it properly on the shelf so it doesn't at one point just go like that would be a terrible omen, I would imagine, for the Jet Super Bowl chances.
Not good.
No. So I think, and hopefully it's very secure on that shelf. I guess we'll find out if it's not in a matter of moments. But before we get to any of that, we do have the Jets-Giants joint practice today. And Nick, I mean, The Giants joined practice earlier this year. We all saw it on social media because Lions and Giants were trading fisticuffs, and they were both fined just under $250,000 each for all the extracurricular activities that happened in that game. And I think I might be making this up, but from afar, I wasn't at the joint practices. I think a reason that fights can happen in a case like that is because the Lions are a team that has arrived. They were just in the NFC Championship game. They are here, and the Giants are here. So when another team that's here walks into your camp, you feel like you've got something to prove. And you kind of have that on the mindset, and that sometimes can lead to some intense activities trying to show the Lions up like, hey, yeah, I know you were just in the NFC Championship game, but here we are. And there's an extra level of physicality, perhaps, which adds a little bit of tension. And again, once there was one fight, I'm like, oh boy, there's going to be a couple more today. And then boop, 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 we had all the craziness. So we're a beautiful segue. We're coming off where the Jets are, and the Giants are, and now you're like, oh boy.
Well, yeah. Let me just,
any concern?
No, and I don't think there will be for a couple of reasons. First off, the Giants were essentially made as examples in that particular instance because the NFL had sent a memo to teams saying, hey, do not fight about a week before the joint practice sessions began, and the Giants did not listen to the NFL.
No.
I do think that it was a very I'm not surprised that the Giants and Lions fought. Not so much that the Giants were pushing back against Detroit, but if you really look at some of the Detroit Lion games, they're relevant for the first time in at least 20, 30 years. Right. And they've got a little bit of moxie, a little bit of swagger now with Dan Campbell, and they're trying to use it. They're trying to be the bad boys of the NFL, really, when you think about it. And that's kind of why I look and say, okay, Detroit, they've got a lot of talent. Everything looks good. But how do you play as the target now? How do you play as a team that everyone's gunning for? Not just Green Bay, not just Chicago, but San Francisco and Philadelphia and Dallas and all these other teams. We've never seen Detroit in this particular situation. So that's why I feel it's a little bit rare where they're trying to bully other teams. And what you saw against the Giants is it didn't work. The Giants actually took it to Detroit very, very swiftly and very efficiently to the point where I'm not saying that the Giants are going to be better, but maybe Detroit isn't going to be as good as they were last season. They had a second-place schedule, which I think plays a part in their success. But ultimately, with the way the NFC North is, I'm not as high on Detroit as a lot of other people are, just because they seem to me like the team that, hey, we have arrived. We're great. We're going to be awesome. And they fall flat on their face the very next year. It happens a lot for rebuilding teams, and I wouldn't be surprised if it happens again. Well, on the other side of the coin with the Jets, they kind of already have dealt with the fighting thing before, and I'm talking about years past.
Yeah.
But when it comes to the Giants, I'm sure there's going to be a scruff. There's going to be pushing and shoving. Robert Saleh has said as much, even in Carolina. I don't think it's going to be anything that is specifically serious because the Giants have already been fined. The Jets have said that Saleh's put the fear of God in their eyes, essentially, with the punishment that would happen with fighting. So I'm not really too concerned about it. I think it's more of a reflection of where the Lions are and where they want to be and who they want to be, as opposed to what makes an actual good football team. So we'll see what happens. But I certainly would be stunned if we had any major fights today.
Yeah, we'll work our way back to this, but I do want to get to the headline of this video, which is Aaron Rodgers' interview yesterday. He was talking about the intensity of Jets training camp this year, and that it was not only much harder than last year, but he believes it may be the hardest training camp he's had in almost the last decade. So let's roll the footage because there's a lot here. Because I think this might, I don't know, pray tell to the Jets' decision if they're going to play their guys in the preseason or what have you. So let's roll this footage. This is Aaron Rodgers yesterday to you guys, local media.
About being tested more than you had in a while. I was just curious, you talking about like compared to last year's training camp, because Robert had also mentioned that he switched up reps, the way he's dividing reps a lot. So I was wondering if it's different from your standpoint, but just some more clarification on that.
I would say the camp is much harder this year and maybe the hardest in the last 7 or 8 of my career. I knew that. I had a little insight coming into camp that that's what Robert wanted to do. So I think it's been good for us. There's a lot of different schools of thought, and there's always, people you can scapegoat as far as injuries and different things. But I think some of the older guys enjoy the, to steal a coaching word, the callous part of training camp where you're kind of grinding. And some people believe that although it puts more, strain on you in training camp, that actually gets you more ready to play when the season starts. And then some people believe the opposite. And you know how it goes. Whatever teams are having success, people kind of look at their schedule and go, let's do that. But I give Robert a lot of credit because he, from the start of the offseason, said this is going to be a tough training camp. And I think it's been a lot of reps for the ones. He told me the other day we were somewhere in the neighborhood of 300 more reps, I think, at this point in camp than last year. And it feels like it, but it's good. I think it's going to allow us to maybe be a little more ready. And we've been fortunate with injuries. We haven't had a ton of injuries so far. So I like it. It's been great. You talk to the older guys, not a lot of complaints from any of those guys. The young guys don't know any better, so it's been good.
That's right. The young guys don't know any better. Oh, I guess that's how they always are. But 300 more reps. Good Lord. Talk about efficiency from last year to this year to be at that level. That's a lot more. Not, again, I don't have the Jets training camp itinerary in front of me, but that means a lot less, I would assume, effing around time. You're just on to the next drill, and there's a pace of play that is happening here. And boy, if this is the hardest training camp that Rodgers had in the last decade, I think you can understand maybe why the starters haven't been playing in the preseason, because they've obviously been getting their work in other realms.
Yeah, and there's kind of two schools of thought here, and really two main pieces that I had when Rodgers gave that exact point. One of which was the fact that we can talk all about, oh, this is Aaron Rodgers' team, what Aaron says goes in these types of instances. And in some cases it is, like if Rodgers says, I want to play in the final preseason game, Robert Saleh's not going to tell him no. They're going to do what the quarterback wants. But in this particular instance, it's very important to realize that this is still Robert Saleh's team. If Robert Saleh wants something done a certain way, he's going to have it done a certain way. So I think it's very important for Rodgers to come out and say that. It's very important for the Jets also to show that the offense is running a lot more efficiently than it did last season with the amount of reps. There's less, having to communicate on the sideline. There's more just, hey, let's get to this point. Let's get to the next rep. Let's get to the next drill over and over and over again. All of that is positive. The other side of the coin is that a lot of teams, I'm noticing this year specifically, are starting to adopt the aggressive and physical training camps that the Jets are also talking about. Philadelphia this year has dealt with more injuries along the offensive line than they have had in over a decade. And that's really because the training camp that they've been dealing with is a lot more physical than it used to be. And Philadelphia was notorious for, okay, we have a strong practice today. The next two will be walkthrough. And then we'll have a nice mediocre practice, and then the next three will be walkthrough. And it was always sort of, we're just going to keep our guys healthy, and that's going to be enough to get us to the Super Bowl. And that has worked. That has worked before. But then you look at a team like the Chiefs, and then you look at other teams who have relatively stayed healthy, and they have had aggressive training camps, physical training camps without really any major injuries. And the Jets, for all we can talk about their injury concerns, they're relatively healthy. I mean, they're getting even healthier as we near the start of the regular season, which is all you can ask for. So there is merit to the point of getting these guys prepared physically for this season as much as possible in training camp without having to work in the preseason, without having to work too much in joint practices. This is a best case scenario for the Jets, because now if there was a major injury that was suffered because the training camps were physical, all eyes would be on Robert Saleh. All eyes would be on the medical staff like they were last season. That's not the case this year. Now you're coming away thinking, oh, our team is 1,000% ready. There's no major injuries overall. We are ready to go to face off against the 49ers. We're going to be able to hit the ground running. I would be very, very surprised if the Jets do not start 4-1 to begin the year, even after this comment, because it tells me this team is going to be really scary next year. I mean, really scary.
Oh, The champagne lives 4-1, baby. It likes it. I gotta like rub it like a lamp. Oh yeah, it likes it. That's phenomenal.
It's been and think about it. The injuries. What major injury are we worried about? Michael Carter certainly hasn't practiced. Big concern overall. But Robert Saleh said yesterday that they expect him at practice, whether it be this week, whether it be next week. He's going to be ready for week 1. Leki Fotu is probably your biggest injury concern right now because he's going to miss the rest of training camp, miss the rest of the preseason. But Tyron Smith, Morgan Moses, those guys are healthy. Aaron Rodgers, healthy. Breece Hall, Garrett Wilson, healthy. I mean, there's very little more you can ask for when it comes to being a Jets fan.
Yeah, and like I said, I think I showed the Leki Fotu injury by accident during the Jets-Panthers joint practice. They just had the camera on one-on-ones with the defensive lineman versus the Panthers offensive lineman, and Leki Fotu had this great rep seemingly, and as he was finishing the rep, he seemed to like hyperextend his leg almost. So it must have, again, it was listed as a hamstring injury. Like, and then I saw him limp off. I'm like, no way that just randomly happened as I was recording. It's almost like the Tariq Cohen thing, right? He's doing a workout, boop, boop, and you're like, no friggin' way. So I was like, oh my God. I see him gimping off. I'm like, I hope that's not serious. And Salah says, yeah, injury out for camp. I'm like, son of a, that's unfortunate. So yeah, but to your point, even Leki Fotu, who I like a lot, I'm hoping to see interesting things. He's not even the main guy. You've got Javon Kinlaw. You have Solly, who's getting a ton of work. So, like, even if Leki was unfortunately out for a period of time, he's just one cog in the much bigger machine, which makes you feel good. And even MC2, I was a little worried about that one, but after hearing from Salah and also apparently MC2, a shout out to Nicole out there on Twitter. She talked to Michael Carter as he was doing autographs. He said, man, I'm feeling awesome. I was like, oh, wow, phenomenal. Great news from reporter Nicole out there in the Twitter street. So that was the only one I was really worried about because I'm curious what the Jets' plan would be if MC2 would be out. Is it a guy like Brandon Codrington? Is it Big Nickel with Ashton Davis? Like, what kind of weird permutations could we see? Although I'm not worried about that because Jeff Ulbrich did a pretty good job again against the team we will not name on this show. When dealing with such situations in the past. So that part is really intriguing. But yeah, it's been cool because the Jets, you just had to think, and there's no science to this, obviously, but after the last couple of years of like unbelievable, unspeakable injuries, that at some point, Lady Luck had to say, okay, enough effing around with the Jets. Okay, let's just kind of like, it just kind of flip-flops, patty cakes. And it seems like for the love of everything, whether it's a solid intense training camp, they said they've been changing a lot of things, whatever it is, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. It's terrific. And whatever has been working this offseason, in fact, has been working. So it's been nice.
And I think the other part to it is you kind of mentioned before, Lady Luck kind of just says, all right, enough is enough. This is ridiculous. And that can sometimes happen. I look specifically, talk about examples of Philadelphia. 2020, Eagles go 4-11-1, one of the worst seasons in team history. They fire their head coach. But the big part of why they struggled so much was because they went through a Jets-like nightmare show this past year where they were going through 10 different offensive linemen and 10 different combinations. The defense was decimated with injuries. The offensive receiving corps was putrid. They didn't really have a quarterback. There were so many other concerns outside of just the coaching staff, particularly with injuries. And then Nick Sirianni comes in. They change and alter the practice schedule a little bit, and all of a sudden, poof, they're healthy for 3 years, really. 3 years of just pretty solid health. Now, obviously, that luck always turns back around, and it seems to be the case going into this season. But that's always the case, and I feel that's why Jet fans, yes, Tyron Smith, I don't expect him to play a full 17 games. I don't expect Morgan Moses to play a full 17 games. But I think they can get close to it. I think they can get to 13, 14 and really help the team out in the long run. And if that's the case, the playoffs, the 1 seed, a home playoff game to start the series, certainly in the cards for the Jets.
Yeah, so it was an entire theme of a show yesterday debating myself and James Woody about should the Jets play their starters in the preseason, and I said absolutely not. 1 drive, 2 drives, that makes no difference to me. I've seen, and more importantly, Rodgers and his team has apparently seen everything they needed to see from him. And I feel like if you played Rodgers, you had to play the starting offensive line. You can't put him behind a shoddy offensive line. The Jets, unfortunately, have a very terrible history with playing random people in the preseason for no apparent reason and injuries happening. So I don't want to test those gods. We're cool gods. Don't need to smite me or anything of that nature. We're on totally cool ground. So I said no. He said yes. You want to get him as the term he used was you don't want the knives dull heading into the season. But everything like Rodgers just said feels like they're more ready than ever. So what is your temperature check here? Saleh has refused to acknowledge it. Brian Dable, for his matter, on the Giants side of things, he also has not said whether or not he's going to play his starters in this game. Do you have a temperature check on what you believe is going to happen on Saturday?
I'm still convinced that they're not going to play anyone of importance. This final preseason game is for the players competing for the final roster spot. So you're going to see a lot of Andrew Peasley. You're going to see a lot of Adrian Martinez. You're going to see a lot of Israel Abanikanda. These kind of guys that are pretty much on the roster bubble and probably more likely than not to be released more than anything else. But again, when it comes to the Jets, and I see a lot of teams do this now where they feel joint practice is as good, if not better, than a preseason because those are controllable variables instead of just throwing out players to potentially get hurt before meaningful games even take place. So when I look at teams that schedule a lot of joint practices, I look at the Jets and say, well, there's no reason for them to play. Aaron Rodgers kind of questioned the idea of joint practices yesterday, but I think that's more just Aaron trying to stir the pot a little bit. But ultimately, when I look at where the Jets are trying to go and what they want to do for the rest of this year, what benefit is there for Rodgers to play a series or two in that game? Okay, so you get added mojo going into Monday night against the 49ers. That's all well and good. No one's arguing that. But let's also be fair and call a spade and say, that's exactly what they did last year. They had the touchdown in 2 drives, and the season ended in 4 plays.
Right.
So I can't look at this situation the Jets have and say it would make more sense for Aaron Rodgers to play in the final preseason game, even if it's just a series, because this is the NFL. Injuries do happen. Scary injuries happen right out of the blue. Are we really going to test Tyron Smith in a preseason game? Are we going to test Morgan Moses? And if you're not comfortable in testing those guys out, then why are you testing Aaron Rodgers with backup tackles? I love Olu Fashanu. Love him to death. I think he is a terrific player, and the Jets are obviously very high on him. I'm not putting him out there either. See everyone who's expected to make the team and say, okay, we've got 5 roster spots. Everyone else go play. Let's see who's going to make those final 5. So I don't see anything that's going to change my opinion that Rodgers is playing or any of the main starters are going to play.
Okay, and I agree, again, wholeheartedly, but hey, different strokes, different folks for some of the people that are on the other side. We will open up the phone lines completely here in just a few minutes, just a couple of quickies. Nick, I won't get a chance to talk to you outside of any private text conversation or anything before next week. In terms of the roster cutdown day, which is August 27th by 4 o'clock. So by the next time we talk, we'll be sorting through the rubble, potential waiver wire claims and things that could change the initial 53. Do you have any sense on, I guess we do have the Giants preseason game, which maybe could decide it for a handful of guys on the bottom end of the roster. Who are the biggest names that are going to be cut next week from the Jets? Anyone that catches us off guard or not really? Because, again, there wasn't a lot of roster spots to begin with.
Yeah, and I think that last point is probably where we're looking at because the Jets kind of have 48, 49 locks on the roster, depending on who you talk to, depending on what you see and what the team is going to value. They've got about 49 locks on the roster. That leaves 4 roster spots. And then you say, okay, so 4 roster spots, about 40 people competing for those spots. And I think guys that are really going to be competing in the final game, the final week of practice to really show that they belong, Jason Brownlee, Israel Abanikanda, guys that may have stood out in certain points in training camp, but the numbers don't add up to them staying on the roster. It just doesn't. So I certainly think either of those people could be on the chopping block. You look at some of the offensive linemen. I think Xavier Newman is safe. He has been terrific in the preseason. He has been terrific in practices. It would be foolish for the Jets to cut him, and I think it would be foolish for the Jets to keep less than 9 players on the offensive line. I think 10 is the sweet number, at least going into this season. So I think Newman's going to be safe. And then the other question, of course, everyone's going to keep their eyes on what happens at the edge rusher position. Is it going to be Watts? Is it going to be McGregor? Will it be Tack McKinley?
Mm.
Betting man right now, I think it's probably going to be McKinley.
Nice.
Because I think McKinley's been just more consistent overall. I mentioned before he had that one stretch of practices where he had 6 sacks in 3 days. It was just incredible. It's tough. I could see them keeping 2 of those guys. I could see them keeping Watson and McKinley and then cutting potentially an extra corner. Maybe Codrington doesn't make the team. But if Codrington has a great preseason game against the Giants as a returner, you can't just let him walk right away. I mean, that's a quality returner for teams that are going to be looking for some on the open market. So there's a lot of interesting points to make. I mean, again, 4 roster spots, maybe even 5 for 40 players. It's going to get very interesting in a hurry over these next few days.
Quick follow-up, because you mentioned his name at the top, Jason Brownlee. Good Lord have mercy. I mean, I know it's a preseason game, but he looked as awful as I've ever seen Jason Brownlee look, from drops and just, I don't know, he just didn't seem to be there. I hate questioning things of that nature because I'm not in a player's head, but man, whether it's a run play, a pass play, an anything play, it just seemed like, his body was moving around out there, but for whatever reason, the lights weren't on going on upstairs, and it was awful. So, like, does he need this strong showing against the Giants to, like, save his job? Or perhaps is his job already lost and he's just kind of a dead man walking here based on the roster?
I think it's more the latter. I think it's more just again, let's do the numbers here.
Sure.
So the Jets know they have 4 receivers that are going to stay on the roster no matter what.
Yep.
There's nothing that they will do. They could go out and practice and cry like a baby in the middle of the field and pout and whine and all those things, and they're still going to be on the roster.
Mm-hmm.
Allen Lazard, Garrett Wilson, Mike Williams, Malachi Corley. Those are the 4.
Yeah.
We have a strong suspicion that Xavier Gibson will make the final roster spot. He's been the more consistent of any roster bubble player. I quote bubble, but really he's more of a lock than anything else. And then you have the question of, okay, Irv Charles or Jason Brownlee. And the reality is Irv Charles is your special teams ace. I know he's dealing with a couple of injuries left and right. That obviously is going to be something to watch. But if it comes down to Irv Charles against Brownlee, Charles' special team prowess gives him the edge. So that's 6. In this regard, why would you keep 7 receivers? You have 4 that are going to be on the field at all times. One's a special teams ace, and one is your reserve when you need to give Garrett Wilson a breather in the slot. There's no room for Jason Brownlee right now. And there's no room for a player that looked as bad as he did on Saturday. So I look, it's just a matter of numbers and a matter of, okay, what does Brownlee do right now that's better than Irv Charles? Okay, he might be a better receiver, but the Jets aren't asking him to run 10 routes and catch 5 passes. True. Irv Charles, they're asking him, okay, we need you to be our special teams ace. And we saw last season, the guy's really good at it. Irv Charles, there's a reason why they let their special teams captain go this past offseason. And Irv Charles is why. So the numbers alone tell you that it may not matter what Brownlee does this week. He might be on the chopping block.
Yeah, I think you could be onto something. Before we open up to the phone lines, I see we have callers waiting. We'll get right to you. That is the pinned comment on YouTube, youtube.com/BoydGreen25. To the 300 people in the room, make sure you guys like the video, hit subscribe, spread the gospel of Boyd Green Daily, which is a daily New York Jets video show every single day at 7:30 in the morning. I'm contractually obligated to ask you this question on a week-to-week basis until some sort of a results arrives. Hassan Reddick, what in God's green earth is happening? He's had 2 game check docs and all the fines. Again, it's hard to even keep track of everything. It's nearing $4 million if we aren't there already, for Pete's sake. And he was scheduled to make, I say scheduled because he is no longer scheduled to make that, $14.25 million, but that does not obviously count for any of the fines or forfeited bonuses or anything of that nature so far. What is the latest here on August 21st as we're in the final week of training camp, the final joint practice today, the final preseason game coming up in a few days, and cut days next week? What the hell's going on here?
All right. Let's just put it this way. Nobody knows. Nobody knows.
I see.
And it's everyone. No one knows because this is all on Hassan Reddick and his agent. I mentioned before, I said on your show, Paul, yesterday, last week was essentially Hassan Reddick and the New York Jets, Joe Douglas, screaming at each other publicly going back to their corners and then going on the notepad and saying, okay, they said this. We have to circle this and make sure that this works to our advantage. And then nothing changed because Hassan Reddick still wants $25 million. The Jets are not going to pay a player who's not there $25 million. And Hassan Reddick saying, give me my money before I show up. The Jets are saying, you're not getting your money until you show up. So there's an impasse right now for both sides. And until one of them relents, we're not going to know how things are going. Because as I've mentioned before, Reddick has felt disrespected overall and about this entire situation before the Jets made the trade. He felt disrespected in Philadelphia. He felt disrespected in Carolina and obviously in Arizona. This is a situation that has been bubbling for years. Now, I will say, and I've been on the record in saying this before, that Joe Douglas and I think the Jets were foolish to not have a solution in place for Hassan Reddick when this trade was made, or even when they traded John Franklin Myers, which gave Reddick the added leverage. You may come to an agreement with Reddick when you first trade him that he's going to play on the final year of his deal. But when you gave him extra leverage by saying you're actually going to play similar snaps to how you did in Philadelphia, that's gonna piss off the player. So you gave him added leverage for no reason other than, well, we wanted the extra $2 million and we knew we weren't going to pay John Franklin Myers, so we might as well just stay ahead of that without staying ahead of Hassan Reddick. It was foolish from the onset what the Jets and Joe Douglas did. However, they're playing it right now. They're doing the right thing. Okay, we're not going to trade Reddick or cut him just because he's upset because he doesn't have the contract he wants. He still has a year on his deal. Blame the Eagles, blame his representation for agreeing to that deal in the first place where none of the money would be guaranteed. That's not on us. That's on you. So come to camp, come to the facility, and then we'll work something out. But until then, you're getting swat. And I personally think this is going to be resolved. I think this will be resolved before week 1 because these contract negotiations happen quickly. It's just one small move can open up an entire chasm. That's kind of what happened with Quinnen Williams last year. Everyone was wondering when he would show up, and then all of a sudden one day, boom, the deal was done. That's kind of what can happen here. So I look at this situation. Do I think that this is a great thing that he's sitting out of training camp? No, of course not. Do I think that this can be resolved where he's on the field week 1 and being a dependable player? Yes, I think so, because there's still a couple weeks before the start of the regular season. There's still a couple weeks for him to be ramped up. You look at CeeDee Lamb, a lot of what the Cowboys are saying right now is that it won't take him long to ramp up for the start of the season. And yes, Hassan Reddick being in a new place will require him to learn the defense, but that doesn't mean that it's going to take a while. He's an edge rusher and a pure pass rusher, get after the quarterback kind of guy. That's kind of what the Jets are looking for out of him. So even if it's just 20 snaps and he rushes the passer on all 20 snaps, the Jets are going to be able to use that to their advantage against San Francisco.
And quick follow-up here, then we'll get to the phone lines. And maybe this is moot because if, as you say, this gets solved before the season, then this won't matter. But Hassan Reddick, technically speaking, isn't on the 90-man roster right now because he's on the did not report list. Technically speaking, his $14.25 million with a lot of fines is also not on the books because of that did not report. So the Jets, technically speaking, are having $20 million, but they have to have the 14 ready because if Hassan Reddick shows up tomorrow, so we go to cut day, right? And he's not there. You don't have to account for that cut because he's not on the roster technically, but you're going to have to come up with a 53. And whoever is lucky number 53 of the 1 through 53, he's the Hassan Reddick ghost guy. As soon as Hassan Reddick goes, sorry, Mr. 53, you are simply keeping the seat warm for Hassan Reddick. Do the Jets, long story short, do the Jets have to do anything at the pass rusher position, or are they just going to keep, for instance, an extra Eric Watts, an extra Braden McGregor, an extra Leonard Taylor III, initially, while this Reddick thing is still being figured out? As soon as you figure out, okay, 10th guy, boop, you're gone, switch out for Reddick. Or potentially, as we've kind of talked about a few times before, but as we continue to get closer to the season, it's kind of interesting. Do the Jets go out and get one of those last veteran pass rushers just as an in case? Because we're running out of time. It's 2.5 weeks before the season. So do they have to have a backup plan from that perspective? Let's just add one more guy, and if something happens, we'll get rid of somebody else then. But we do need to add like one more name as the names continue to leave the free agent market.
Well, I don't think that's going to happen regardless. I think they're pretty pleased with what the defensive line has looked like, especially the last few weeks. hard to argue against them in that regard. Will McDonald has played really well. Jermaine Johnson looks like he's on the cusp of another breakout season. I mentioned Tack McKinley before, Michael Clemens, these kind of guys that there's still a lot of questions to them, but this is a good overall group in the first place. I'm not saying that it's elite, but it's a good, solid group overall. There's a lot of teams that would kill for some of these players that are currently on the roster for the Jets this season. But I look at this Reddick situation, and yeah, they'll probably keep an extra pass rusher, essentially to say, hey, you are the Hassan Reddick placeholder. The minute he signs his deal, you're gone. You're going to be on the practice squad, and that's pretty much it. So I would look at a guy like Eric Watts, maybe Braden McGregor, these kind of guys that make the team initially, and then, oh, look at that. Sorry, you're on the practice squad for the rest of the year. Just by the way, Hassan Reddick comes back. The other piece to this, I don't think they're going to make a move until after week 1. If Hassan Reddick does not show up for the 49ers and the Jets defensive line is putrid, they get blown out in San Francisco because the defensive line is just awful against the run, can't get any pressure on Brock Purdy, then there's an argument to be made that, hey, more likely than not, the Jets will probably go up on their ask when it comes to Hassan Reddick, and they'll try to get a deal done. That is how leverage works. It's really the last true play that Reddick has. If the Jets defensive line gets 5 sacks, the Jets are going to be sitting back pretty and saying, take all the time you want. We're here all day. We got plenty of great guys. We just beat up a really good team. We do not need you. And I think they will in the long run, but they'll just sit there and say, nope, we'll wait on you. No problem. So it depends on what happens in week 1 before they make an additional move or relinquish their rights for Hassan Reddick, whatever it is.
Sure.
Certainly that's going to be a situation to monitor, but it won't happen before that game.
Again, we have Nick Faria here on the show, baby. Joins us every Wednesday here on Boy Green Daily. But let's go to the phone lines. Again, that is the pinned comment on YouTube, youtube.com/BoyGreenG5. Nearly 400 people in the room right now. Again, if you'd like to call into the show and you're watching on Facebook or Twitter, you must hop on over to YouTube, and you should anyway, because you can become a member of the Boy Green Coffee Club. All right, let's go to the phone lines. First off, we have our resident OC, Easy Edward, here on the show. What's up, Edward?
Hello, boys. Good morning.
Yeah. Good to see you. I like this. People have been calling it in the chat. This is ball cam. It's a little on point, but I do like this angle. This is nice.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm just me. I'm just driving the garbage truck.
Sure.
Hey, at least I'm not clean. At least I'm not cleaning out porta potties.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, somebody's got to do
it. Yeah, and they'd have to give me probably $1,000 a day to do that shit, though. But
literally,
it is what it is.
Yeah, that perhaps.
Yeah, literally.
What's up, Easy?
Oh, man, I was trying to get here early, and this guy is here. Shit, fucker. Anyway.
I love the play-by-play. Thank you.
Well, I got to drop this container and pick up the other one.
Okay.
Wow, it's messed up. So, anyway, I should probably call you back later.
Okay.
I'm a little bit busy.
Yeah,
I didn't realize Nick was going to be on so long. So nothing against Nick. He does good analysis. I like his analysis.
Thank you.
But I just want to clarify one thing I said yesterday.
Oh, okay. Yeah, sure.
Yesterday, when we were talking, a lot of people thought that I was advocating for the Jets to play the starters. I was not. I was only advocating they play the starters if there is a gentleman's agreement. And then we both came to the conclusion that they should probably just do it during the practices when everybody's redshirted. So I am relinquishing my decision to start Aaron Rodgers.
Okay. Well, we accept that relinquishment, if that's a word, I guess. But Easy, thank you. Yes, I know you're quite busy. Okay, let's go back to the phone lines. I'm not sure, Nick, if you've met this individual, but this is a brother of a twin brother of a very popular caller. It's time to he joined my evening show earlier this week, and now he's making his debut on the morning show. The brother of B-Mac, C-Mac, is on the show.
Hey, how y'all doing this morning?
Excellent.
Nick, it's a pleasure to meet you for the first time. I just want to let you know I'm C-Mac, and I guess you might have met my brother B-Mac, who is
absolutely.
very, very, very interesting, complicated dude, I guess he's supposed. But how can you be a Jets fan and a Packer fan at the same
Doesn't
time?
make any sense. Doesn't make any sense. I don't know.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense. Me, I'm a Jets fan. I am Jets all the way until I die.
There you go. The only way to be. So what's
Let's
on your
get down
mind?
into business. As you can see in the background, I'm watching Friday Night Lights.
Oh,
Yes.
okay. I like that. Yeah. B-Mac's always watching like SVU, blee, blah, blue, Miami Vice, something or other. So yeah, football. Nice. You're a football guy.
Yes,
Good to see.
Yes. That means I am 100% dedicated to football in the New York Jets. I don't like my brother
Obviously.
B-Mac, who
Obviously.
watches stupid Roll and Order. Who watched that stupid show? Not me. But let's get down to some Jets business now.
Sure. Yeah.
Hassan Reddick. Look.
Yeah.
Hassan Reddick, you have no choices but to show up on week 1 and play football. Now, I get where you are coming from, Hassan Reddick. You want your money. You are getting older. This could be your last payday. But you have to make a decision. Do you want to be a player that's all about the money, or do you want to be a player that's all about the team who's trying to go and win a damn Super Bowl?
Yeah, he did that though. He did that. That's why he took less to join Carolina. Why he took less to join Philly. He wants his money now. That's the thing. He went for the team. He did right by the team. And the one thing that I will say that hurts his case right now is that Matthew Judon is essentially taking him to the cleaners in the court of public opinion, where he's saying, I have to prove myself. I've done nothing for the Atlanta Falcons, so I'll take essentially less to play for this team than anything else. And the reason why he's doing it is because he's coming off an injury and he's 3 years older than Reddick. All these cases are in Reddick's hands and saying, well, it's a different situation entirely. He's coming off a season-ending injury, 32 years old. He's not the same player, but he's a defensive player of the year candidate too. He's still a top player in his own regard. So I look at where the Jets are and with Reddick is, in fairness to Reddick, he has done the rah-rah, I'm focused on the team, I want to win for the team type of mindset, and that's gotten him jack squat with these NFL rosters because they don't want to pay him. So he's essentially saying, you know what? Screw you. I'm getting my money now. I'm sick and tired of this crap. I'm going to do what I want. I'm going to get the money I want because I have not gotten what I deserve. Right, wrong, or indifferent. That's what he's had to deal with. That's an objective fact. He's been underpaid every year he's been in the National Football League based on his overall production. Now, with Judon coming out and saying this, if the Jets were to come out and sack Brock Purdy 5 times in week 1 and they beat the 49ers, is there any leverage left for him? Probably not. And that leverage is already minuscule at best.
Yes. But if you want to be a guy who wants to win a Super Bowl only, sometimes you have to put your ego aside and put your money to the side. And you just have to just say, you know what? Screw it. I'm going all in. And I want to win a damn Super Bowl. But enough of the Hassan Reddick mess.
Okay.
I want to talk about what these New York Jets are doing and what these New York Jets are preparing to do. This team is hungry. This team wants to go out there and they want to shut everybody up with their play on the football team. This team is tired of all this talk and all this media system. And I've been at training camp. I've been in that building. I see the fire or the passion that this Jets team has. I see it from Rodgers to Quentin to Starks to DJ Reed to Will McDonald, who will shock a lot of people. And don't be shocked if Will McDonald gets into the Pro Bowl this year. Don't be shocked.
Okay.
Because
wow,
I see something in this kid. Since Hassan Reddick's not there, this kid is making the best out of his opportunities, and he's making the darn good best out of them. Nick, I know you're a beat reporter, but I see a little bit more of the team viewer side than maybe you have. No shot, no slight, but I've been in this locker room and I see every single passion, fire in these guys' eyes, and they want it, brother. They want it real bad, and I can't wait. I can't wait this season when we shut everybody up and we blow out every single team, left and right, up and down. And when we go and when we take this big boulder, shove it up sideways, and stick it up their candy ass. Can you smell what? See that? It could get D-E-T-S. Let's go.
Wow. That was there's a lot to unpack there. And perhaps I will have to do that with my therapist at a scheduled point. Wow. Not even really sure how to go to another caller, but why not, I guess. All right. God bless America. Boy Green Daily. Boy Green Daily. That's it. That's the commercial right there. Let's go over to Hep here on the show. Oh, boy. Okay. Another concert. Wow. Okay. If anyone could follow up C-Mac, it's this.
Boy Green Daily, Boy Green Daily, Boy Green Daily. We're talking Jets, man. Wow. Boy Green Daily, Boy Green Daily, Boy Green Daily. We're talking Jets, man. Yeah. I'm gonna lose my bananas. Offense, defense, special teams. Super Bowl's coming, you know what I mean. Boy Green Daily, Boy Green Daily, Boy Green Daily. All right,
wow. Thank you, Hep. That was beautiful, man. Thank you. Wow.
Well
You're gonna
done.
have to send me that track. That is beautiful, man.
Yeah, I'm working on it. I'm gonna put some drums on it, and I'm gonna drop you doing little like tidbits of your daughter going wow and different things on and stuff.
Oh, that would be awesome, Hep. Thank you so much, man.
All right, guys. I love you guys. I'll see you on the rebound.
Wow. Okay. What a freaking show this is, Nick, for the love of everything that's holy. I have no words.
We need football. We need meaningful football. Everyone's going crazy. Everyone's going crazy.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. Let's go back to the phone lines, I suppose. And Johnny Boy graces us with his. Are you going to sing a song?
Someone normal,
another personality.
Something normal.
Yeah, a brother, perhaps. Is there anything else you'd like to share? Yeah.
How am I supposed to go? I mean, I love Hep. Hep's dope, right?
Yeah.
And C-Mac. Everything I wanted to talk about just football went out the damn man. Like,
sounds about right. Yes.
But no, I did have a few things I did want to ask you. And
in song form,
I could say it in Spanish if you want me to.
No.
Okay. No. Just English. It's just fine. I appreciate the additional flavor that could have been added there. But yes, as muy caliente, as I'm sure some of these are. Please, yes, deliver them.
Hey, Nick, it's good seeing you, buddy, man. Long time. I hope you're doing well.
Of course. Same to you.
Man, so I always have looked forward to your takes and everything. I had two things that I wanted to talk about. First, CJ Mosley in the Hard Knock, in the One Jets Drive. Have you heard or maybe seen? It seems like CJ Mosley is doing his last dance. Everybody's praising him. Everybody's saying this. And they continue to keep bringing up Sherwood and Barnes and Surratt like crazy. And they're saying stuff like Quincy Williams has excelled so well, and he's so much faster than any of the linebacking individuals that we have. Any truth to that you might have heard, or am I just maybe, thinking too much into it? And then the second thing, DJ Reed and Sauce, they seem like they're more of the actual vocal leaders in that defense right now, that where I'm seeing it looks like everybody's rallying around them, especially DJ Reed. Like DJ Reed, it's intriguing to see that. So I just wanted to get your take on that. I mean, on both of your guys' take, if you guys saw that, or am I just, being nuts like C-Mac?
Yeah, I guess I'll start and just say I did see One Jets Drive last night. It was terrific. They had an entire segment dedicated to CJ Mosley and long overdue. I don't know where Nick's going to go. He could go where he likes. He's his own man, baby. And as we've seen, there's been a lot of different men on this show during the phone call portion of this exam, but that's neither here nor there. The point is I believe CJ Mosley is absolutely going to be here next year. Why? The contract never lies. You say the eye in the sky never lies. The contract. This new contract he has some significant guaranteed money for next season. So I think he's here through at least 2025, and then do they reevaluate it after that? So I think you're just, I don't want to say the hashish or what potentially could be happening, the hookah, the whatever, or the vibes of the team, right? Because I've heard Badlands, they've used this Last Dance Jets term of bringing all these one-year guys together, one final run. It could be a concert or a band cover or something of that nature. I believe he's here. I believe they're just giving him his flowers and just saying, man, there's that famous line in Ferris Bueller at the end of the movie. Like, if you don't stop and look around once in a while, it might pass you. Holy crap, we're playing with CJ freaking Mosley, who they were calling on the One Jets Drive last night, a future Hall of Famer and this crazy leader and all these things. So, no, I think you're just you're caught up in the moment, in my opinion, of all the hoopla that's going on and this team trying to win a Super Bowl and everything. He does not seem like a guy that's just going to walk away after this year. Someone actually, Nick, you might have been there for this media opportunity. I remember someone joking with CJ Mosley. I was just walking off camera about retiring. It's like, I'd never thought about that until you just said it. So, and then someone said, blame Connor Hughes or something if he ends up retiring randomly because he hadn't thought about it previously until he put it into his mind. So, no, I don't think so at all based on the contract, and it seems like he's still playing at a really high level. What have you heard, Nick?
Not that I've heard anything, but the writing's on the wall, guys. And I've said this before. I've been on record saying this the entire offseason. My concern this year is not the Jets' offensive line. My concern is not their defense. My concern is CJ Mosley's age and the fact that he was really, really bad down the stretch, particularly in the game against the Cleveland Browns. He was really bad in coverage. And that's the first thing to go when we talk about aging linebackers. Yes, there are guarantees into his contract in 2025. Yes, it doesn't sound like he's going to be willing to retire. I think the Jets are going to make that decision for him. And I would be shocked if the Jets are keeping Mosley around for 2025. I think 2024 is it for him. This isn't to say that he's bad. This isn't to say that he's a bad leader. How many contending rosters do you know that keep a 33-year-old linebacker at his role when you have a young, athletic, ball-seeking missile behind him? I have been high on Jamien Sherwood now for 2 years. He was really good in limited time last season via Pro Football Focus. His grades were off the charts. Why would you keep Mosley around if you have the replacement ready to go? It's all the moniker of an NFL team is always letting a player go a year before you have to, because then you sort of get that conversation rolling. You always keep your roster fresh and young. This isn't to say that Mosley is bad, but cap hits, cap concerns, these are all things that everyone looks at and says, oh, it's going to be a problem, but then it isn't, because teams eat up dead money all the time. So I look at CJ Mosley and I look at the numbers and I look at the age. And yes, he had a very good year last year, but it does not take long to look at the last final 4 games of the season and say, hey, he may have lost a step. And if that continues into early in the season, the Jets have to be proactive. I have been pounding the table on this and saying, if Mosley looks like he's lost a step against San Francisco, Tennessee, New England, Minnesota, they need to make a move swiftly to make sure that Jamien Sherwood is on the field very quickly. And again, I think he's gone after this year. I don't think they want to pay a 33-year-old linebacker while they're in the process of paying Sauce Gardner, while they're in the process of paying Garrett Wilson, while they're in the process of paying Elijah Vera Tucker. This isn't to say that they don't value him. You saw that throughout the last few years. They value him more than most other players. But at some point, age becomes a factor, and speed, the lack of speed becomes a factor. You do not want Jeremiah Trotter, his final year in Philadelphia, to happen to you, because he was a key reason why Philadelphia lost a playoff game in New Orleans. I remember seeing it as an 8-year-old kid and saying, wow, we can't have him start next year. And they kept him on an additional year, and the defense was one of the worst in the NFL that next season. Not saying the Jets defense is going to be bad in 2025, but I think this is the last year for Mosley. Cap hit be damned, whether he retires, whether he restructures his deal to take on less money overall. I don't see how the Jets are going to keep him when you have Jamian Sherwood, Zaire Barnes, all these young guys ready to go and can start for your team now, immediately, even without Mosley on the field.
All right, Johnny. So keep smoking whatever you're smoking. Apparently, it is well stuff.
It just seems like it, because they spoke so highly of Quincy and telling him how he's been more vocal with the younger cats and pulling them to the side and saying, you need to be in this position and that position. Or now he's able to actually read, where we should put in the defense, because it seems like they're going to go to this place or go to that place. Mm-hmm. And kept talking about his speed. And it just seemed like, I'm like, oh man, because, I've listened to Nick a lot, and Nick's been on point in regards to, he spoke very highly in regards to Sherwood. And I'm like, holy crap, this might be happening, because it seems like it was his last dance with Jordan on there, and you're starting to see everybody talking about how much they appreciate him and this and all that. And I'm like, holy crap, this dude might not be here next year. He might be one of them guys that is, because he's such a good dude, that you might want to say, you know what, I'm going to retire, and that money that you guys were going to pay me or whatever, put it back into the team, because I love the team so much. I mean, that's just me wishful thinking, and
okay.
Right? But
that won't happen. But yes,
that's okay. Yeah, but go ahead. Yeah.
But that would be crazy. And then the other part, the whole deep and Sauce, right? I mean, have you seen that, Nick? Like, they've been more vocal, the actual vocal leaders on that defense side with DJ Reed and Sauce.
Yeah, listen, the entire defense has really become vocal. Jermaine Johnson, Quinnen Williams, these guys are all vocal in their own position groups. I think DJ Reed and Sauce are just louder overall. Not to say that it's a bad thing, but this is kind of my point of CJ Mosley, where you see the photo of, if you guys are Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle fans, of the video, or the photo of the small TMNTs with Shredder. No, it's not Shredder. It's Splinter. There we go. The rat.
Yes, correct.
And he's talking to the small turtles, and then a picture years later where the rat is old and gray, and the guys are trying to help him out. I think that's where we're at with CJ Mosley, where he's not the same player, but the defense around him isn't the same. They're all elite players, and I think that's the process right now that's going on with the Jets.
Pretty cool. Johnny, thanks for the call, brother.
Hey, I appreciate you, Nick. Keep doing your thing. BG, always a pleasure, brother.
Thank you. I appreciate it, Johnny. All right, we had this super chat in here. I don't know if you can answer this, Nick, but it's a question for you from MFC, which, by the way, I appreciate when we get these.
Wow.
My daughter always introducing us to that. MFC says on YouTube, was it Nick's article about McKinley's PFF? Do you have any idea what this means?
I've written a bunch of articles about Pat McKinley and how well he's looked. I doubt it's something that I've written the last few days, because I think he was one of the higher graded players on PFF from Saturday's game. But I look at where, again, I think McKinley makes the roster. I think McKinley makes the roster over guys like Braden McGregor, because he's just been more consistent. And I think that's where I think he's going to make the roster. He's been really good. Boom, done.
All right. As do I. I agree. All right. Appreciate that. All right. We've got some memberships to get to here on the show, baby. So shout out to Jared B here first. Play him. The latest up. I got to update this thing. Okay. Hang on tight. We'll get your membership in a second. And I also see that our buddy MFC also gifted a membership. I haven't been on the YouTube tab, so it's loading up here. So we'll get that membership here in just a second. So shout out to Jeremy, and I'll get the other one here from MFC as well. Appreciate you gifting a membership, buddy. First membership goes to Mr. Excessive Tackle. Okay, hopefully we're getting a lot of those this season. And then MFC's goes to Famous J. Make sure you guys pay it forward. New members of the Boy Green Coffee Club, we appreciate you. All right, let's go back to the phone lines and keep this party rolling. And Nick, at any point that you have to pull out for your normal work activities, feel free. We totally understand. So
appreciate it.
Okay.
I think I'll probably take one more call before I head out.
Okay, one more call. Well, let's go to this one. I don't know if this is also an alternative personality. This could be Dickie from New York, but Ricky?
What's happening, Paul?
What's up?
I did fall in line with B-Mac and Johnny with the sunglasses today, but that's about as close as I'm getting.
Oh, B-Mac, he hasn't called in yet today. But C-Mac called in earlier, but I haven't seen B-Mac
yet.
Yeah. You mean William Shatner?
That's what I was about to. I'm glad that you said that, Nick, because I had that consistency. Hello from over there. I don't know what we're saying. Right. And like there's these pauses, like because Jim Rome does this on the radio just because he's the show after mine at the radio station, and he does a lot of pausing when he talks. We're almost like, did I lose the signal on this? And he pops up again. Yeah, the cadence.
Journalism 101, broadcasting 101. Paul, you know this better than anyone. Using your pauses the right way, is fantastic.
Yes.
When you use your pauses every 30 seconds, it begins to lose its mojo a little bit there.
That's true. Yeah, so you kind of lack some of the luster there. There's no question about it on there. But yeah, so I did. That's funny. I Googled it. I was like, yeah, Star Trek. It was escaping me. William Shatner. I said, and I never got to it. So I said, I'll close that tab. But I'm glad we got back to it because there's some William Shatner consistency there. So anywho, but yeah, Ricky, I like the shades, man. I like the look. The bucket hat as Maniac. Very nice. What do we got?
There's definitely a difference between like a dramatic pause and every 30-second pause where it just seems like you're losing your train of thought.
That's it. Yeah.
In some instances that might be a blessing in disguise. Now I will say this about the topic of the linebackers because as much as I love them, I do remember, Marvin Jones and Mo Lewis, and one year it's like they would get there just at the last second to clean up the running back, as he was hitting the gap. And then the following year, they would get there just 1 second too slow as the running back went by for big gains right and left. And so, and that's the thing, sadly at that position, it's not something where they kind of slowly decline and you can see it coming. That's one of those ones where they kind of fall off a cliff. So I mean, I do agree with that. However, maybe they're just giving CJ his props because, well, he deserves it.
That's where I'm at. Yeah.
One interception hits him in the hands last year and he drops it, and there's a large section of us that we're going, oh, get rid of him, he's no good, he's a bum, why is he even on the team? No, he's not a bum. You listen to the coaches, you listen to the players, and this is why I'm going to have to go a little bit against the grain, and I usually agree with almost everything that Nick says, but I got to disagree on this one. I think he is there for 25. I think, as long as Aaron's the captain of our offense, I think CJ is going to be the captain of the defense. And even if he does decline a little bit, now, if he falls off drastically, that changes the conversation. But if he just declines a little bit, I still would see him being there because his intelligence, his knowledge of the game, and his leadership, it just can't be discounted. I mean, we hear the players say it all the time. He is the captain, the leader of our defense. And as far as guys becoming more vocal, I have to say, from what I've seen, the most vocal guy out there, just chirping, talking shit, is Tony Adams. Tony Adams is for a young guy, he's really kind of come into his own and was very vocal. And
Ricky read my article a couple of days ago. That's what it was. He read my article.
See, there you go.
Right. Well, I was really encouraged by the interview he gave yesterday, where he said, I'm playing a lot faster. The game has slowed down for me, and you're going to see a lot more plays from me this year. And hey, I'm all for that. I'm all for that.
The coaching staff loves him. That's what you can say. They discovered him as this undrafted free agent, and boy, Saleh just thinks the world of him. So, again, the Jets coaching staff has been right a lot more than they've been wrong when they have identified guys like Quincy and others. So, yeah, Nick, I think they got something here. This Tony Adams. Go ahead.
He looked good last year, too. It wasn't that he was bad. He was pretty solid. And solid for an undrafted free agent, really good in your second full season. Now he's got another year in this defense. I think I've said this before. I think the Jets safety room is going to be extremely underrated this year and a lot better than we've seen in recent memory. 2 years ago, they were the worst position group in football. Now we're talking about this group with Chuck Clark being healthy, with Tony Adams continuing to develop. This is a pretty damn good group. I wouldn't be surprised if they're among the upper echelon of safety groups in the NFL.
Well, Ricky, I appreciate the call, brother.
All right, man. Yeah, looking forward to this year getting going, and can't wait for it, man. San Francisco, they're in for it.
Oh, they're in for it. I can't wait. I can't wait for the world to know on a national stage.
And no Trent Williams possibly, or a rusty one. It's like Christmas came early for Jermaine, so I can't wait to see that.
I appreciate it.
All right, guys, have a great day.
Thanks, Ricky, for the call. And Nick, thanks as always for joining the show. And wow, this is an episode I'm sure you will never forget, for better or for worse.
So. Appreciate it, Paul. Thanks so much, guys.
All right, there he is, Nick Faria, Pro Football Network and Athlon Sports. I'll stay on a few more minutes to answer a bunch of your phone calls. Let's see, we have several phone calls waiting, so let's go to our next person in line here. NY Jets FL graces us with his presence. What's up, buddy?
Paul, good morning. I missed the CMAC call or BMAC call. I'll have to go back, and that's when I first popped in. I had a work situation. Yeah, I'll see what.
Okay.
And let me say this about Hemp. That guy can hit a high note. He's I like to see I like to see what he's got under the hood. More a little more music, extended songs maybe in the future.
Yeah, so what he said is, for those who don't know, real quick, he will be sending me, because I'm sure on StreamYard, whatever camera or mic he has to be picking up what he's playing doesn't come over perfectly, but I can hear it and it sounds really good. He says he's going to be sending it to me a different way, so then you guys will all be able to hear it. So I will, when that comes over, I will definitely play that. Yeah, he's got some talents, no question about it. But go ahead, what's on your mind?
Oh, I don't know, not much, but the only thing that a couple things I really, and I'm confident in this. I think Leonard Taylor II's making the team.
Ooh,
I think he's shown enough.
I believe he's the third, by the way. I believe it's Leonard Taylor III. Yeah,
third. I'm sorry.
The second is his father, I believe. Yes.
Okay. Thank you, Paul. Thanks for the.
Yeah, of course, as a guy who's a junior, senior, third, all this coming, I'm just more on my numbers.
Yep. Yeah. Yep. And Johnny really did bring up an interesting topic with with CJ, because I still have the visions of Njoku running wild and me dropping F-bombs in front of my daughter, saying, do something other than what you're doing, right? Try something different. So
like 150 yards or something in that game. It was crazy.
Oh, it was CJ 5 yards behind him every time. It's like,
it was tough. It was a tough watch, and they play some tight ends this year. Man. So
that's why I agree more, I think, with Johnny, because no matter how much we love CJ as a person and as a Jet and a player, there does come a time where you can't, let that wreck your game. And we had the CD Lamb wreck our game too.
Yes.
Although then again, we had Zach Wilson playing in that game too.
That
didn't
true.
help either.
Yes.
So
no, probably not.
So I'm most excited about the depth that we have. The players that we played last year that shouldn't probably have started are now a year in, another year in
Yes.
to the system, and especially on the offensive line. So, and the Fasciano pick. I mean, I was in the Brock Bowers camp early, but I don't care if Brock Bowers is a Pro Bowler. If you got Olu as a 10-year starter and a, potential Pro Bowler,
Clearly the right decision. Again, I was with
Yep.
you. I was on Bowers. I wanted something that helps right now and no playing around. But to be honest, that if, like, let's say they went the Bowers route, their left tackle backup to Tyron would be Max Mitchell, Carter, Warren, someone of that. Like, good Lord. You know what I mean? So, like, I must have been, and I can admit this now on August, even just months later, that I must have been blinded by the sex appeal of the moment, the wow thing of the moment. That, boy, Tyron hasn't played a full season since 2015, and the season's only gotten longer. It's now a game longer. So, like, the chances are he won't play. And, boy, with as great as Olu Fashanu has looked, damn, like, okay, it looks like the Jets made the right decision. So I'm more than happy to admit I was being wrong there in pre-draft analysis for sure.
Paul, when you said the wow thing at the moment, I thought your daughter's video was gonna pop up. So
it always can. You always have to be on the prowl. It could pop up at any moment.
Yeah, gotcha. Let me one more quick thing. I know you got you're extended here, but
Sure.
ABT. I mean, you don't hear much about him, so I'm assuming that's good news.
Yes, he has returned to full team drills, so he's been a full participant outside of the pitch count situations, which I don't know if that's just a joint practice thing or only every couple of days. But besides that, he's been in there. So yeah, so I would say it in that light. If we're during a game, wow, we haven't talked about the offensive line in a while. Great news. That must be a good thing, as opposed to shining a light on it. So yeah, by all accounts, it looks good. I think he was the one that arrived before. Yeah, because it was Tyron, him. Yeah, I think Morgan was the one who was last to join everybody. So yeah, ABT's been there for a month plus, so it's great.
Yeah, not that hoping for good health for him this year because he's such a really talented player.
Yeah.
But Fashanu is probably some very good potential backup for this year. I mean, just depth backup. Yes. So I'll go with that, Paul. For today, right. Yeah, you got things to do. You have a good one, Paul. Thank you so much.
Yeah, you bet. Thank you, NY Jets FL, for joining us here on the show. Okay, let's keep going on the phone lines. I want to try to get to everybody before I got to run off to the radio station. All right, we've got Tim from Fishland next. What's up, Tim?
What's up, Paul? Just working, driving right now. I've been sick all fucking week, still sick.
Oh, that sucks.
That's all right. Allow me to play more Madden.
Hey, but, there you go. That's the spirit. I wish I need to get sick ASAP apparently, so I can hang out here at the house. I love it. The Madden game's been a lot of fun playing it.
What are your chances of that kid Cordington, Covington? I forgot the return.
Codrington. Yeah.
Codrington.
Yeah.
Because him and Gibson back there returning kicks, that could be dynamic.
I would love it. Yeah, so I think his return prowess, has given the Jets a lot of thought. Like, he also apparently can be the backup to Michael Carter II. I think that's really important in the cornerback room too, but purely from a return perspective and how important I think these returns are going to be in the NFL this season. I think he's given them a lot to think about. And boy, if he has another encore performance versus the Giants, I think it might be a lock that he's making the team.
Okay. That's what's up. I think there's about a 65% chance that Rodgers plays on Saturday too.
Really interesting. There's been all this back and forth. I no longer have a temperature. I thought for sure a couple weeks ago he was, and then people have talked on both sides, and now I'm kind of like, I have no idea anymore.
I think he's going to play. I just don't see why you wouldn't. He needs to have some live bullets coming at him.
Okay.
Risk of getting hit. You know what I mean? Like,
sure.
Just to get those butterflies out. But other than that, y'all are talking about Mosley. I don't know. Mosley's my boy after last night. He made me. Yeah. He made somebody rage quit.
Well, I love Mosley, man. So I push back against the Johnny Boys, the Nick Farias. I think 100% CJ Mosley is going to be back next year. I think he's better than people are saying, and it's great news to have depth. I don't think that's pressure to get rid of CJ Mosley. Let CJ Mosley continue being awesome, And to be honest, I would feel robbed, for lack of a better word, if the Jets won a Super Bowl and had success and CJ Mosley wasn't here. He deserves to be here. He's powered through all the crap of sucking and has been here throughout all of it as a leader. So, yeah, CJ Mosley to me is a very important piece to the puzzle.
So last night I had me a little what should I say? Score runner up, or I mean like a barn burner.
Sure.
Against Kansas City, and he had me up by 2 under 2 minutes. I'm hitting my I'm stopping them. It's third down. I got no timeouts left. I think I came with a double mug look, but I think I dropped off back into a cover 1, and he tried to hit Kelsey on a quick pass, and Mosley picked it off.
There you go.
Okay, then I start running the ball. Every time I ran a play, it felt like I could have just ran for a touchdown. But every time I got past the first down, I went right down to waste out his timeouts. Once he wasted out his timeouts, bro, I got into the QB kneel pose. This guy started flipping out, Paul. Oh, play like a man. Play like a man. I said, I am. I'm playing like your boy Mahomes in the Super Bowl or in the playoffs.
Yeah.
I'm playing just like how you were playing me.
Yeah.
This isn't NFL blitz, bro.
Yeah. Oof. Yikes.
So he ends up quitting. Rage quit.
Yeah. And they have not fixed that for me yet. So, for instance, I had someone rage quit at the end of the game. I score a 2-point conversion, I win, and then he, like, before it finishes, he quit, and then it said EA is evaluating this performance. I went, oh,
it only takes a minute. They have to evaluate what happened. Once they evaluate it, like right now, I'm ranked in the elites. I got like one more win to Elite 3.
Oh, there you go.
That will reset itself once you turn it back on. You'll get the points.
Thank God. That's good to hear. Okay, cool.
Great. That win. Unless you get disconnected, that's the only way. I've had a couple other times where I think I was trying to accept a chat invite from a friend.
Oh, and it did something.
Out of the game.
Oh, okay. Well, so as long as it doesn't do that, that's it for me. As long as it doesn't do that from the Madden perspective, that's it for me. So, but I do got to hop back on there, so I do got to go check that out. Okay, sorry guys, I got to keep moving here to the other callers before we get out of here. Let's go to Dave here on the show. Dave's next. Another Asmaniac bucket hat. Those are popular today. What's up, Dave?
Good morning, Paul. How are you?
I'm doing excellent. Good to see you.
Good. The last 4 callers, great information, great Jet content, men. But when I got up this morning, the first face that I saw on your show was Mr. C-Mac B-Man. Paul, I'm begging Jet content creators. I'm begging all of you. This guy is over all of them. His so-called comedy is disturbing, okay? Somebody's got to put an end to it. Would you not be the first one to get him on point? I just don't understand. For number one, he's not a Jets fan. He's just forced to wear a Jets cap.
Well, C-Mac said C-Mac says he's a Jets fan. B-Mac said he's only
C-Mac, B-Mac, they're both the same character. Let's face it.
Wait, what? I thought he said they were twin brothers.
They're twins of nonsense. Okay, twins of not. This guy, Paul, please. Somebody's got to put a stop to. Could you keep him on football points? I mean,
that's impossible. I'm not sure if that's my capabilities. I mean,
all these guys that are comedians that come on to content. Yes, a little bit is fine, but it gets to a point where this is awful. I mean, I just see. I mean, I work all day. Yesterday I was tired. I usually get up early. I saw that, and I was going to go back to bed for the day. He is disturbing. I'm telling you, the least. I mean, please, Paul, keep him on point. Football only.
I will try. I will try to do my part.
I'm sorry, Miss Mick, to get back, Nick rather. I'm not sort of like don't understand the Codrington. I mean, he just came out of nowhere. I mean, is he that is going to be that good or vital to keep a roster spot? He's never proven anything really. I mean,
that's why I said I think he needs a Giants performance or it's just a fluke. It's a one-game showing. If he can't do it against the Giants or show something in that game, then I think it is what it is.
What is Nick? Has Nick seen him close up and personal at the practices?
He does. Yeah, he goes to the practices, so he has. Yeah.
What does he think of him? What was his opinion of him?
Yeah, he thinks he's an interesting player, but I think he was leaning more towards me that you need to see it again before we're making any, over the top comments about people being able to make teams or not. Because I think we're very overreactionary as people. So, for instance, the first Commanders game, Adrian Martinez is going into the Hall of Fame, the greatest quarterback of all time. And then the Panthers game, like, oh, Jesus, he's terrible. Cut him. So, like, we're just woo, woo, woo. Yeah. The needle flies all over the place. I think that's a problem with a lot of us here, which for better or for worse, I think we're that as a people. So specifically to Codrington, I think we got to take a step back. It was really great, but he's got to show something else. The return game was intriguing, and like I said, return game is going to be very important this year. So let's see what happens.
I wouldn't release any of the pass rushers that we have because this Reddick, he's probably the situation is just deteriorating day by day. I mean, I don't see he's coming here. His agent is probably just pumping his ear full of garbage, and he's like those guys, it could end up in a Le'Veon Bell. They just do. They make. I don't call them stupid, but they make stupid decisions. And long term, it's going to hurt him, and it's going to hurt us for this year. And most likely, if we do bad, it's going to cost Douglas his job. Because if they don't do well this year, so they have to generate the pass rush, and we all know Clemens is not it. McDonald's just a part-time, player. So you have to hope for one of those rookies. That McGregor, he looks like he's going to be a good find if he keeps it up, if it's for real. So I hate to see a guy like that get cut. And Leonard Taylor, the third, we want to mention the third, I guess.
That's right.
I mean, there's a lot of big decisions here, but let's hope they could come to get this Reddick sign maybe this week. Because if it goes beyond this week, I mean, it's really going to, will it be worthwhile? I mean, we know the Jets' history is these signings. I mean, it could end up he tears an ACL. He's not prepared.
That's the thing I'm worried about is he shows up somewhere in the next 2 weeks. That's not a lot of time. He runs out there for the 49ers, gets hurt, and you're like, damn, we rushed all of this, and all of this happens, and he just gets hurt anyway. So, 100%.
Well, Paul, it's always good speaking to you. So remember this about C-Mac, B-Mac. Get this guy on point, please. I don't want to see it no more. I'm telling this to all. He monopolizes Jets content.
Yeah. Apparently it's everywhere. So I will do my part, Dave. I will do my part to try to see if I can keep B-Mac, C-Mac, or any future brothers that join the show, and brothers in the D-Mac, E-Mac, F-Mac, or anything of that nature. Anywho, wow, what a show this has been. Let's wrap it up here with one final guest. That'll be Uncle Tio, Uncle VR, joining us to 411 on New York Sports. What's up, brother?
Good morning, Paul, and good morning to the Coffee Club. I just wanted to come on and say, is this where I heard this is where you come on to do your comedy skits?
That's true, right? And I see a lot of shade seems to be the optionality for today. I like that. So I guess I shouldn't have assumed you were Uncle TR. You could have been, somebody else perhaps. So excuse my assumptions. You know what they say about people who assume. But yeah, there's been a lot of comedy routines. There's been a little bit of everything today. Concerts, everything. Wow.
Concerts, singing. Well, Hep. You gotta love him, man.
He's
that guy's awesome. I mean, I can't wait to hear his stuff when he sends it to you. Whatever clips.
Yeah, I can't wait. Yeah, I have not seen it yet, but apparently, I know sometimes we hear it over the virtual world and it kind of gets lost a little bit. I can't wait to hear the refined version of him actually doing the concert. That's going to sound spectacular, I think. So I can't wait. I'll let you guys know as soon as that's available. Yeah,
that's going to be awesome. I just have a couple of points. I'm hearing a lot of CJ Mosley hate, and I
slander.
I can't sit here. I had to call in and just say, listen, this gentleman was a person. A lot of people forget he signed with the Jets when no one else would. True. In their prime, I mean, like not
right. 2019,
different people. Yeah, exactly. Not like different people like Le'Veon Bell coming, off a year layoff and like nothing in the tank.
Like he was in the middle of his prime, and the Jets pried him away from the Baltimore Ravens 1,000%.
So people forget that, and this is what I'll say about CJ Mosley.
Yeah.
You can observe and you can say that CJ Mosley has lost a step. And maybe that, he's a little deficient in coverage and stuff like that. Listen, I will take the quarterback of the defense and his knowledge as the Mike linebacker of this defense and over his knowledge and experience over a couple of plays where he may lose a man on coverage or miss or drop a would-be interception. I will take his experience. I would take it every day and twice on Sunday for the New York Jets, having that man in the middle, quarterbacking that. I mean, like the knowledge that he brings to the team and that defense and all the people that are learning and stuff like that. Can you imagine how much Quincy Williams, who is now a Pro Bowler, whatever team,
first team All Pro,
team All Pro, how much his ascension as that player, the contribution that CJ Mosley made to that man to make his game great, as the will linebacker on our defense. Okay, so I mean, all this, CJ Mosley hate is sacrilege.
Make sure you slap around your co-host over there. I see his picture on the screen, Johnny boy. Give him a little, yeah, there you go. What are you doing, buddy? Putting all that negative energy into the ethos. Like, why don't we have to like throw Yoda off the cliff and say, "Up, it's time for the retirement home, old man"? He's like, "Wait, I'm not." He's like trying to shove him in there. I'm like, "Whoa, easy there. Check
put him in the bathroom."
I know, right? Check his birth certificate for God's sakes. Are we forcing him out a little early here? Jeez, hello.
I know you got to go, man, but
yes.
One other observation that I wanted to make, I wanted to get your take on it.
Yeah.
I'm a little concerned about the past couple of games, even the second stringers and third stringers.
Yeah.
I'm really concerned just about the scheme against the sideline to sideline defense on screens and on sweeps and things of that nature. It's not only the tackling, the tackling has been deficient on that, in my opinion, from what I've observed. I wanted to get your opinion on the actual scheme. Are we out of place lining up in those? I mean, I've seen a lot of running backs breaking contain in both games, the Commanders and the Panthers. And that's a little bit concerning for me in terms of the defense. That's the only thing that has been concerning for me. I wanted to get your take.
I think it's the mentality, to be honest with you. And I thought you were going, when you were saying, here's my concern, I thought you were going to say like their ability to, or inability, to defend the run. And I think that problem and your sideline to sideline problem are the same problem. And now the Jets are going to have to rein it in. I think it's the aggressiveness of this team. It is an attack style defense. So it's, if I'm a player, I imagine, I've never played defensive end, but I imagine if I'm in this scheme and it's go after the quarterback, I shed my run defense responsibility early on a play action because I want to get the sack. And I'm intrigued and allured by those kind of sexy pass rush productivity because ultimately that leads to people getting paid. People who sack the quarterback get more money than people who just stop the run or do their job. So I think sometimes that's in the head of some of these guys and they get over aggressive. So for the screens, again, the same sort of mentality, aggressive mentality. You shed your guy, and you should say to yourself, and Quinnen's done this a few times, and I've loved that. That's just how smart Quinnen is. He like sheds his offensive line. He's like, wait a second, that was too easy. That guy let me go. And then he's like, whoa, whoa, starts backing up, and he goes right into his screen. You're like, damn, that's just incredibly smart in the middle of the moment, right? Like, because it's like a piece of me. Dog's like, yeah. And he's go. Whoa, wait a second here. This doesn't feel right. Oh, there's a screen over here. Like, they're just trying to trick me. I think Quinnen does, 100%. Quinnen does a really good job with that. Well, like cars and traffic and dogs are like, oh, look at that. I think that's the problem, is that it's a mentality from aggressiveness from the screen, and then teams, we all know this as Jet fans, teams have nickel and dime the Jets, and even more than that, when they bring them in and they let the dogs in, that's almost like the saloon doors. They're like, oh, you want to go after the quarterback? Go ahead. And sometimes Jets defenders are like, sounds good to me. They don't think twice, and then just a little bloop, a little soft J, mid-range, step back, 15, 18-footer, whoop, just goes right over their head, right to the running back, and he's got plenty of blockers in front of him, and he goes crazy. So teams can take advantage of the Jets' aggressiveness often, and that also, like I said, I think plays a role in the run defense, which scares me a little bit sometimes. The thing that brings me back home, if I start like thinking about this stuff, I'm like, the Jets are going to be playing more leads. They won't just be able to run against the Jets like this because the Jets offense is going to be putting the pressure on the other offense to keep up. And that should allow more opportunities for pure pass rush, But yeah, no, I think that's, again, it's a mentality thing, and the Jets have to rein it in or try to figure it out, because you don't want to get rid of the aggressiveness because that's what makes this unit special. But you can't just be reckless out there. You're going to give up a lot of big plays.
Yeah, I mean, like just to give an analogy,
Sure.
For me, it's like a world-class pitcher, right? That has a 98-mile-an-hour fastball. You know, you use that fastball and you get players out, you know, swing rate and all that kind of stuff. But you need to also know to use your off-speed stuff, when to use your curveball, when to use your off-speed pitch, when to use your knuckleball, whatever pitch you have, with your off-speed pitch. And that's what I think we need to do with the defense too. The defense needs to call a better game and kind of anticipate when these screen plays and these jet sweeps and all this stuff is going to happen. They need to look at film and they need to like look at the teams and see like what kind of offenses are they running and what's their patterns. And I think once they do that, I think you'll see better play of that. The tackling still concerns me, but at least we will be in the right place in the right scheme to get a better opportunity for that tackle. That's all I got, bro. But I'm going to leave you off with this joke, right?
Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah.
2 guys walk into a bar. The third one ducked. I'm out of here. Take care.
Oh, that's funny. All right, everybody. Well, we got to sign off. Thanks to the 500 people in the room. What a crazy show. Like the video, hit subscribe, spread the good word of Boy Green Daily. We have no additional show today. It seems like we have an additional show every other day, but this day we do not. We will see you tomorrow for Boy Green Daily at 7:30 in the morning. Hope you guys can check that out. And like I said, spread the love. Appreciate the memberships, everybody. And we'll see you next time. Actually, just coming back on for a quick second. I've never done that before. Jets Giants joint practice today. Let's do a prayer circle for no injuries. Okay, prayer circle, no injuries. Okay, baby, and let's enjoy a joint practice and smack the Giants around. Okay, now I'm leaving.